Nectar of instruction. Of course, there's nectar in any of Srila Prabhupada's writings, but just the title of this book, The Nectar of Instruction, generally when we get instructed, it implies that sometimes there's an implication that you don't know something. And so you're being instructed. Sometimes that may have puts a nasty taste in the mouth of a materialist, because it kind of implies that you're less intelligent, or you need to be instructed, you need to know something. But this instruction, Srila Prabhupada calls it the nectar of instruction. Of course, we all know the word nectar. Nectar means very pleasing to the taste. So if we hear these instructions, if we hear these verses with that proper devotional attitude, that it will be very pleasing to our taste, that it will actually help us in our devotion, then we can start to appreciate what Srila Prabhupada has given us here. I forgot my glasses, but luckily there's a whole collection. So I'll start reading. I won't read all the verses, but I want to read the first 4 verses for a specific reason. The first, text 1, the translation is, a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So we're an institution that we have people called gurus. Gurus are teachers or masters. So this first verse gives us some enlightenment on the qualities of such an individual. That person has to be able to tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. The second verse is one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. Number 1, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Number 2, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Number 3, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Number 4, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. Or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Number 5, associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And number 6, being greedy for mundane achievements. The third text is, there are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So much nectar in these words. This is the verse. I'll talk on a little bit and read some of the purport. Verse number 4 is, offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. The reason I chose this one to talk on is 2 reasons. 1, we're a philosophy of divine love. And 2, as I travel, I have the opportunity to listen to Srila Prabhupada a lot. So this week, one specific conversation Prabhupada had, he was in Australia, and he was speaking to a geographer. That's what the man was. And this gentleman had approached Srila Prabhupada with a lot of ideas about what was wrong in society. Of course, keep in mind, this was probably 40, 50 years ago. But he was touching on a lot of the things that are in the news today, so to speak, with the environment. And he was talking about how, we need to preserve water, so on, so many different things. The socio-economic platform he was speaking from. The Srila Prabhupada always came back to 2 things: the holy name and prasad. So he is saying, you may be geographer, I may be spiritual teacher, someone may be economist, someone may be this, may be that. He says, but why can't we, whatever we are, come together and chant the Lord's holy name and take prasadam together? So these are the two things he kept stressing to this gentleman. Whatever we may be, whatever we may do, why can't we do this? Eventually the man agreed, yeah, we can do this. Of course, Prabhu is very convincing in his arguments. But those two things he kept stressing. Chanting the Lord's holy name together, congregational, coming together, whatever you do, no matter what you do, coming together congregationally and chanting the Lord's holy name. And taking prasad. So I'll read some of the purport now to this. It's fairly long, so I won't read it all, but Srila Prabhupada further enlightens us. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional activities in the association of other devotees. There are 6 kinds of activities. Giving charity to the devotees, accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. 3, opening one's mind to the devotees. 4, inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. 5, honoring prasad, or spiritual food, given by the devotees. And 6, feeding the devotees with prasad. An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is Guyam Akyati Puchati. When a devotee distributes prasad, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as the Lord's grace, received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasadam, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called Mukte Vajayate Jaiva. Even in ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel, and over the feast openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes present presents or exchange. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti, or love, in intimate dealings, these 6 activities are executed. In the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Sangha Tyage Sato Vrite. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. This society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give-and-take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities, and people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines, dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. We sometimes hold Hare Krishna festivals and invite like members and friends to participate in the feasting by accepting prasad. Although most of our members come from the higher rungs of society, they nonetheless come and take whatever little prasad we are able to offer them. Sometimes the members and supporters inquire very confidentially about the methods of performing devotional service, and we try to explain this. In this way, our society is successfully spreading all over the world, and the intelligentsia of all countries is gradually appreciating our Krishna conscious activities. The life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchange among the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating In the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. I want to repeat that. Srila Prabhupada says that the life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchange among the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. Now the purport goes on for many more pages, so I'll stop there. And I want to read one other thing from a god brother of ours who I find I get a lot of inspiration from. Many of you know him. His name is Jayapataka Maharaj. Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, I'll read this. Said, this is one devotee asking him this. This is in Mayapur. He was once approached. He approached Jayapataka Maharaj and asked him, if you have free time, what will you teach your disciples? Probably Prabhu expected him to say that Maharaj would teach deep aspects of Radha Krishna Bhakti and secrets of the Bhagavatam and pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Surprisingly, Maharaj's answer was very different. He said, if I have time to teach my disciples, I would teach them to respect their parents, elders, friends, and Vaishnavas. Teach them to help, serve, and assist others in their service. Teach them to forgive and forget others' mistakes. Teach them to show love, affection, and compassion to their god brothers and Vaishnavas. Teach them to have a big heart to accept everyone without any conditions. Maharaj further continued and said, if you love someone, someone will love you. If you show mercy, someone will be merciful to you. If you judge someone, someone will judge you. If you have trust and faith in someone, someone will have trust and faith in you. If you insult someone, someone will insult you. If you encourage someone to serve Guru and Krishna to their ability, someone will encourage you in this regard. If you harm someone, someone else will harm you too. If you show compassion on the face during another devotee's sorrow or fall downs, and secretly enjoy his state at heart, someone also will do the same to you. Prabhu said that this was all worldly and materialistic aspects. Maharaj immediately said that this is the problem with our devotees. We talk high principles of bhakti and preach extensively about Krishna consciousness, but fail to realize and imbibe these so-called simple but great human qualities, which are the very foundation of Vaishnava character. Maharaj also said the main impediment which retards the growth of a Vaishnava is the envy and ill feelings towards other Vaishnavas who are contributing their might to serve Guru and Krishna. Prabhu understood the in-depth feelings of Maharaj and thanked him for enlightening him on this very important but most fundamental aspect. His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj ki jai. So these things, these nectars of instructions, these things that we all need to realize it is so important, our devotional mood or attitude. We need to be eager to serve, eager to hear, eager to please others. I remember when I first took Brahmin initiation. For those who don't know, in our movement, in our faith, we take initiation. Initiation, you could say, means beginning, start. But then we promise to chant Hare Krishna mantra, X amount of rounds per day. We promise to abide by 4 regulative principles and so on. And then there's a second initiation. The second initiation is called Brahmin initiation. Men get a thread. And at that time, we were allowed to go on the altar and worship the deities. So I had received Brahmin initiation. This was back in the 70s. And I was excited because I looked at it kind of as, I'm a Brahmin. I wasn't a Brahmin. But I was thinking, oh, I'm a Brahmin. So I actually was able to go on the altar and do some service to the deities. So it was one Sunday feast. The temple room was packed. And I used to like to wave the chamara fan. So I had offered all the articles. And then there came time to offering the chamara fan. And I was offering, and ringing the bell and offering it. It flew out my hand. It landed right at the feet of Lord Nityananda. So I went and grabbed it. And, I don't know if anyone even noticed, except I noticed, of course.
Lord Nityananda noticed.
Yeah, Lord Nityananda noticed for sure. But I'm just sharing this story, not to embarrass myself, but it was embarrassing. But to think that I was a Brahmin. I wasn't a Brahmin. I'm still not a Brahmin. This is so, when we hear of, when we hear words, for instance, that Jayapataka Maharaj just spoke, that I shared with you, when we hear these instructions that Srila Prabhupada is sharing with us, these are Brahmins. These are qualified people. So, Srila Prabhupada has given us so much. In one of the lectures that I was listening to this week also, he was saying, and don't take this as an insult, because Prabhupada didn't discriminate. He said every one of us has mental disease. If we're here in the material world, we have some mental problem. We've chosen to come here somehow or other. So, what's the saying? Misery loves company. So we can all share in our shortcomings. But the way to share is to help each other, to encourage each other. As Jayapataka Maharaj was stating one of the lessons, not to be envious of each other. And then we can help ourselves with each of our mental problems. I haven't met anyone, that, not to be insulting once again, that hasn't had some mental strain of some sort. It's not that it's uncommon. And oftentimes, in the material world, people strive and work so hard, as it was saying earlier in the Nectar of Instruction, for mundane things that are so difficult to obtain. They work so hard for them. And those who have achieved that success, and who have plenty of money, oftentimes they're the most unhappy. And oftentimes they're the most mentally disturbed. And we see this time and time again. Srila Prabhupada taught us how to be satisfied with simple things in life. That's why our farm communities, he gave the slogan, simple living, high thinking. So simply these things he's telling us to, he's stressing to this gentleman in Australia, let's chant together. Let's take prasadam together. These things. This is pleasure. This is real life. To associate with each other. And as he's helping us here in the Nectar of Instruction, to develop friendships, real friendships. Revealing your mind in confidence. Knowing that you can have full trust and faith in your godbrother, god sister. And to help each other, to share prasadam together. So these are things Srila Prabhupada taught us. We can talk high principles. We can come and, not me, but many of I have godbrothers that can recite the entire Bhagavad Gita to you, about verse by verse. They've memorized it. And they may be able to elaborate on very high philosophical points. And that's very good. It's to their credit that they can do that. But simply to imbibe these 6 principles, we can really share our love for each other and share our realizations with each other. And we have to always remember that our character, a Vaishnava, is known by his behavior. It's like Srila Prabhupada was always exemplary in his behavior. Somehow or other, anyone and everyone that came into contact with him felt his love. They felt his concern. Even if it was for a short period of time. Somehow or other, he had that potency. So, we have to see through the eyes of Shastra, we have to see through the eyes of the pure devotee. Because his eyes are anointed with the salve of love. So should be our objective. To show through our behavior that we're perfect ladies and gentlemen. That's what Srila Prabhupada wanted from us. That we show society, give society an example. And the way we do that is by our behavior. So we are we've prepared a wonderful feast today to share with everyone. This is something, of course, that Srila Prabhupada also taught us. In fact, not only taught us, but single-handedly would do in the early days. Cook the feast, serve it out, and clean up after us. So, the least we can do is carry on this tradition. But also, it's very important for me to hear others' realizations. And there's so much here that you can feel free to discuss about. There was so much offered in Srila Prabhupada's books. But now I'd like to end and open the floor for others' discussion, for other discussions or realizations or questions if there are any. So, please, someone. Yes, under connection.
Krishna created everything, including us, and he gave us all individuality and free will to execute whatever it is that we wanted to do. He gave us an opportunity to either continue to associate with him in appreciation or to do something else. And we chose to come here. Like you said, we are all mentally deranged. So now we're stuck with each other, and we have to become favorable to Krishna once again. And to do so, it would be easily accomplished by bringing others to him. No matter what our religion is or what our faith is, if we have sufficient faith in the Lord's association and appreciation for any attempt at service, then we shouldn't hesitate.
Thank you. Thank you. Go.
I heard a quote from Prabhupada during his disciples.
And he was always very grateful to anyone who was assisting with his
carrying out his spiritual master's instructions. And that was always the amazing thing, is that whenever anyone would praise him, he would say, I have to thank you all for helping me carry out the orders of my spiritual master, and my spiritual master ascension. But at the same time, sometimes he, would become frustrated with our mistakes and our shortcomings. And he was speaking one time with, said, all of your hearts are like black coal.
Wow.
And he said, but just like coal, you put enough heat and pressure on them, they become diamonds. He said, so, that is why I am pushing you so hard to carry out this movement against all odds. So our hearts will become diamond-like.
Wow. Thank you, Guru. Yes, Guru.
I'm almost an intruder, but coming so late and very sorry. But speaking of the order of Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada appreciated our trying to serve Bhaktisiddhanta even by distributing one book. The order of Bhaktisiddhanta was also for rotating GBC to exist, and as a concession, because no one thought they could do it, he said we should all serve for life. But we still have the opportunity, although there are enough of us left, to facilitate the enactment of that desire by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, that the government of ISKCON behave in that way, that the GBC members rotate according to election among themselves and according to election by the general leadership of ISKCON. So, to me it seems, we have the chance to fulfill that order. So, I'm at least qualifying to speak, but I really think we should try and we should do it.
Thank you, Guru. Krishna Shrai, Prabhu.
It's so wonderful, Prabhupada, with our insane minds, Prabhupada brings us the message that we're not the mind, the insane mind, we're not the body, we're the soul, which is eternal, blissful, and knowledgeable. And so in that state, we can have these loving exchanges. We can go back home to God here. And it's such a nice example here at this temple that you hear about Prabhupada cooking for the devotees and serving, but you can actually see the spoon in that little cabinet right next to Prabhupada, where he actually used that spoon to do some of that cooking. And I think it's a wonderful thing to have these theaters, the temples, the facilities, the house that Prabhupada built, that we can come and learn to do these things and actually see. I know in Atlanta there's a Geewick lamp, and it's this I've never seen one before. or since, but it's a rectangular square one in Prabhupada's quarters, and next to the bed. And you can actually see and hold it. And then you see pictures of Prabhupada holding the same lamp during the arti. So it's so nice to be with the devotees and with Prabhupada in the house that he built for us.
Thank you. As you were speaking, I was thinking how Srila Prabhupada also instructed us that the Vapu and the Vani, the Vani is more important. So oftentimes we forget that, but that by associating through his instructions is so important, and that's what we can do eternally. Any other comments, questions, realizations? Otherwise, it's time getting close.
Well, yeah, I've noticed
Yes,
that the sun is shining and it's raining, so that's an auspicious thing.
That's auspicious. I was just thinking too, when Prabhupada came, one of the Prabhupada's visit here was so short. He gave, went to the Temple in New Orleans. We had the Asa Puja offering to him. Then he went to his quarters, and some dignitaries met with him. There was a darshan that afternoon. The next morning he came to New Talavana. He gave a class here. He spent the day here. He went for the walk here around the property and so on and so forth. And we all pretty much know, or have heard, most of us have, all those instructions and pastimes that he shared at that time. But other places, even in Atlanta, Prabhupada gave there's so many conversations there. There's so many interactions with him and Swarup Damodar. There's classes. There's so much happened just in our temple there in Atlanta that, of course Prabhupada was there, I think, a little longer. But he of course, we all know wherever Prabhupada went, he was always sharing with us, sharing his realizations, instructing us, giving his mercy to us, no matter where he was in the world, tirelessly. I travel internationally, and just to adjust, it's an endeavor. Prabhupada was just not affected like common persons affected. He would just, same schedule everywhere he went. When I go, I'm waking up odd hours, I get tired odd hours. Same schedule. Just that indicates how he transcended this body that he was in. And so many times, devotees were just amazed at his energy, at his pain. He was such a giving person, always wanting to give and to share. And so that's another thing we need to pick up on and emulate. We have to be very giving and sharing, especially when it comes to the philosophy, especially when it comes to emulating his behavior. His behavior was one of love. He loved us. He loved everyone, and he showed that. How he behaved was an act of love to all of us. And so we're meant to do that. We're meant to follow in his footsteps. These aren't just words. These are things, this has to become part of our behavior. That we love the way Prabhupada loved. That we share how he shared. We do the things he did. That's how the movement will spread. That's how that love that everyone felt with him will feel with each other. There's so many songs people write about love. Love is all around. But how do you really tap into that? Here in the Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada's given us some ideas of how to do that. And we should take them to heart. Each and every one of us should take those instructions to heart. Invite someone to your... I had an uncle who, I don't know how many of you are aware of the Catholic Church, but, you know, they've gone through all that change, so many changes too. But at one time, he became what was called a deacon. He's passed away now, but he was a deacon, could administer the Eucharist and could do some of the things that only priests previously could do. So he was a very devout Catholic, and he became a deacon. And what I always respected about this one uncle of mine is he really lived the teachings of Jesus best he could. One time my aunt woke up and she walked into the kitchen. There was a strange man in the kitchen with like shabby clothes, and well, my uncle had brought him home to feed him. He found the man on the street. He didn't have much, and he brought him home, and he was feeding him breakfast. So these simple acts of kindness, these things that we can try to become Sanskrit scholars and try to impress someone by quoting Sanskrit, and everyone's wondering, what are we saying? And for those who understand Sanskrit, it's wonderful. But for the majority of people, that's not what Prabhupada did. I mean, of course, he always backed up his philosophy with Sanskrit verses and so on. But he walked the walk. He did not only talk it, he walked it. Even in Mayapur, for those of you who've never been there, it's not outside of ISKCON devotees at this point in time. What to speak of 30, 40, 50 years ago. It was not the most traveled destination in the world, to say the least. Srila Prabhupada went through the endeavor in this remote place on the planet to build a big building. For what? For his devotees. To give them facility. Yes, Prabhu.
There was mentioning how Srila Prabhupada was talking to this gentleman in the beginning, and this gentleman was talking about all the struggles that we have, and that's still relevant today. And then Srila Prabhupada was saying how congregational chanting and taking prasadam is so relevant. And I thought, I recall the incident in Bhagavatam in the beginning when Krishna was about to just before Krishna came, 5,000 years back, all the demigods, they realized there's so much problems in the universe they couldn't deal with it. So they all went congregationally to petition the Lord. And they were singing the Purusha Shukta to the Lord. And that's how Krishna decided to come. So there is so much power in this congregational praise and chanting. Like Christian people also do it on Sunday, and we do it. So that's something I just wanted to mention, how very important it can be if we together put our heads and do appropriate prayers. That all these problems that we have can be solved. As Prabhu was indicating, very simple. You eat together and you pray together, you know?
Yeah, thank you, Nanda Prabhu. Koko Prabhu.
So along those lines, and you mentioned the Vedanta temple. So he was there, not for a very long time, maybe 2.5 days, 3 days. And if you see all the conversations and the walks and the classes and devotees' memories of things that happened in those days, those few days, he did more than a lot of us may have done in a decade. And besides the fact he was translating Prabhu. But during that time, the devotees were amazed by the fact that Prabhupada seemed, we know the story how when he first saw the deities of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, he began to experience transcendental emotional ecstasies, which he very rarely did publicly, and would actually always try to restrain that. And he could only speak for about 3 minutes when he first saw them, because he became so choked up he didn't want to display that. So there were many things that happened during that visit that, people were wondering, what was it about Atlanta that he was so happy about, that he seemed to respond to, that in such a giving, intense way. And because it wasn't not a big temple, at that time Gorntai were the only deities. Now they have Jagannath and Radha Madan Mohan, and it wasn't the most opulent building. And I mean, there were a lot of devotees there, but in reality, the Atlanta temple maybe had 50 devotees. So Sri Kirti Prabhu, and I've confirmed this with him, I asked him personally, because I had heard this as a rumor, one of these Prabhupada says things, but I confirmed it. Sri Kirti Prabhu asked Prabhupada, what was it about Atlanta that pleased you so much? Because, at that time also there was controversy, just like we have issues now, people, have different friction within the movement, different things. And there were issues back then, even when Prabhupada was on the planet. And that time it had to do with which was the most important service, and which is the most important ashram to be in. And it seems silly now, but at the time it was very serious, very serious. So, and at one Sunday feast, there was a question and answer period, and the devotee asked, Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? And Prabhupada began to chuckle, he knew what this was about. And then he looked down at some of the leaders and he said, if you love Krishna, if you chant Hare Krishna. And so, the answer to Sri Kirti's question is, if you, hope I didn't go too far astray there, but when we asked him, what was it about Atlanta that pleased you so much? And he said, when I saw how all the devotees were working together in a cooperative spirit to please me, that's what pleased me the most. And we know that his instruction in the last days, in his mortal pastimes on this terrestrial plane, that he said, the test of your love for me will be your ability to cooperate. So how to, this is and it is a test. But how do you, especially because Kali's mission is to create quarrel, to create hypocrisy. Where there's quarrel, there's Kali. Kali's got his sticky little fingers in there. So it's a real test. But and recently we were reading in the first canto, the 13th chapter, Dhritarashtra Psalm. There's a sentence in the purport, one of the purports, and Prabhupada says that our constitutional position as spirit souls is that we are cooperative subordinate servants. So this is this is the ultimate realization. Whatever, like you were saying, you may be very, very learned in Shastra. You may be very, very expert in so many different technical things, and you may be very good at doing your particular service. But the highest thing, the highest goal, the highest, not just thing to know, but actually to live by, is to be a cooperative, subordinate servant.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Guru. That was very nice.
I hope I made sense.
Yeah. Very, very nice. Any other quick comment, question? Yes, Mother. Go ahead.
There's a difficulty of cooperating. I mean, maybe a finished thing. There's 3 levels of devotees. A finished is the beginning level, and they don't appreciate other devotees, but they appreciate the deity. But to have the idea from Prabhupada of a certain thing that's really important, and another person may have another idea of a certain thing that's very important, and there are misapplications going on too that you don't want to cooperate with. And so you find that devotees are fighting about how to best cooperate with Prabhupada because each has a different vision. So how, that humility, I guess, is the key. So how will you say that we can make progress with this?
Okay. Who wants to take a shot at answering that? Yes, Guru. Don Ganesh.
Temples, Srila Prabhupada set up a temple system with authorities below his direct representatives, which are the GBC. So he has established a format for relating to sadhu and guru. And the third proposition is that we also cooperate with Shastra. So those are the 3 requirements that we base all our decision making on: sadhu, guru, and Shastra. So when we're in doubt, we go to a senior devotee, a devotee who's senior to us, who's been around longer, knows more. And if we're not satisfied, we go to another senior devotee, and we get a cross-section of opinions from aspiring devotees and try and draw a conclusion how to act on our dilemma. Further, we can go to their representatives, the GBC, and find out from higher authority how to respond to our problem.
Yeah, thank you, Guru. Any other? Yes?
It's kind of interesting. Prabhupada, on his departure, was dictating the 10th canto, and some of his last days, he actually said we must have Varnashram too. And so the system that's in place that Nanda Ganesh Prabhu was mentioning is the current system that we can cooperate and settle things out. But as this Varnashram Dharma, maybe Gadi Varnashram Dharma is being implemented, hopefully, then cooperation is going to really take off. I think we'll see a better ISKCON. We'll see a better Vaishnava devotee communities, and hopefully, at least that's what I'm looking for, that it will really soar as Varnashram Dharma, Gadi Varnashram Dharma starts to take effect and implement it, and how would you say, imbibe in the community and in the individuals.
Yeah. Thank you.
Along with what Nanda mentioned.
Yes, go
I have
on.
one comment too.
Yeah.
I feel like different devotees have different natural abilities, and sometimes the best, like you were saying, Madhava Priya is saying that different people feel that they can serve in different ways. So how can they cooperate? Because one person might have one idea of how they can best serve, and another person might have another idea of how they can best serve, and then everybody's focused on trying to perfect their own different services, whereas the big ultimate goal is lost. So I feel like, just from everything that I've read and watching videos of Srila Prabhupada and hearing lectures, I feel like the temple, if you're going to live in a temple and be a part of a community, then you have to find out how your natural ability can fit in with the mission of that particular temple or community. For instance, this temple is a farm temple, so the mission of this temple might be different from one in a city, because the services that you can provide at a farm community would be different from the services you can provide inside of the city. So if you choose to live within a farm community, you align with the leadership and whatever the mission is. And New Talavana is doing a great job of really trying to streamline the mission and get everything on board, and you figure out where you fit in that, and then you surrender. Because sometimes you think that your idea might be the best idea, but it might not be the one that wins, So you find out where you feel that you can best serve, and then you do that service, and then you just have to mentally surrender the results of that service, because that's one of the toughest things to do. But if you're really going to please Srila Prabhupada, that's the number one thing you have to do is just surrender. So I think everybody will be able to cooperate better if they surrender whatever they can do towards fulfilling the overall mission.
Thank you. Mother, you have something else there?
I mentioned that humility, I see as the key, but it's really scary. Because if you don't have complete realization, but you realize this thing, and the other person has an incomplete realization, and they realize that thing, then it's like, and then devotees, different places I've been in the past, they'll be fighting in the pujari room or something like that, and I'm not even picturing here, I suppose it's happened here too, but I'm picturing elsewhere, and I realized, this was some years ago, that everybody was trying to please Krishna in the way they understood. So I decided to, at least myself, try to have that mentality toward the others. Appreciate, at least, I recognize they're trying to please Krishna. So humility is the key, but it's scary, but it's the key.
Also, we have to always also keep in mind, I was stating earlier, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we get initiated for those who are wanting to, be more definitive in their devotion. And we promise the spiritual master to abide, to follow 4 very good principles, which philosophically, we're told that by doing this, these things we abstain from because they are detrimental to 4 virtues. And Srila Prabhupada has told us, for the most part, these virtues are shot in Kali Yuga. He tells us that Dharma is standing on one leg, truthfulness. And along with what 2 mothers were just saying, we have to be true to ourselves. We have to be honest about ourselves. It starts with us. Another example that our godbrother, which I read examples from Jayapataka Maharaj, would give. Oftentimes we want to blame others. And he says, when you point the finger, 3 of them are pointing at you. So, truthfulness is what we have to some degree start with, but with ourselves. Be truthful about yourself, where you are at. Be truthful if a certain service is really conducive for your Krishna consciousness or not. I'll give you a strange example. When back in the early days, and the temple presidents at that time knew, Gokula I'm sure can attest to this, in the temples, I had to travel even back then. I had to go sell incense. So back then, one of the idiosyncrasies were devotees should never be alone. So the temple president in New Orleans at the time, who I knew very well, would send someone with me to travel. Okay, now, one of the individuals he sent with me was Bhakta Ramon. My service is selling incense, so I would have to travel far away, seek companies who would buy incense from. So Bhakta Ramon was traveling with me. Bhakta Ramon couldn't speak English. So he was sitting there. So Dr. Ramon couldn't drive. He didn't have a license. He couldn't drive. Couldn't speak. He was sitting there. Dr. Ramon had come from the Washington Temple. At that time, Rupanuga was in charge of Washington. So he knew three words. You know Rupanuga? You know Washington? That was about it for his English. And Dr. Ramon would sit there. I would drive. I would go in, see the accounts. Hopefully make sales, get back in the vehicle, drive to the next place. Dr. Ramon would sit there. And then we'd stop, we'd take prashad. Dr. Ramon would take prashad. We would take off. Dr. Ramon would pass gas. So these were Dr. Ramon's duties. He would sit there, pass gas, and basically say, you know Rupanuga, you know Washington? So I went back and I said to my temple brother, I said, Prabhu, I understand I'm not supposed to be by myself, but is there anyone else you can send with me? So next was Dr. Rick. Dr. Rick just got out of the federal penitentiary. The point I'm making, I'm trying to get to. I understood the principle of not being alone, to be, always in the association. And Dr. Rick could drive, so that was a good thing. But then eventually it worked out where I was by myself, traveling and so on. And, by Krishna's grace, the point I'm making about being truthful, sharing with whoever, at that time my authority, I was sharing, these two individuals really, Dr. Ramon didn't work out, Dr. Rick, he helped out, but then I forget what happened, he had to go on. So eventually I was left by myself. But I'm trying to stress the principle of being truthful with where you're at and what may be, what your consciousness, what you can handle, and sharing that with someone. This is part of the symptom of love, of confidentially confiding in someone and sharing that with them. And then you can gradually, as things get better and better, Krishna can do anything, of course, but we should never think that Krishna is our servant. Although he may be, he can do anything, he can serve any of us. We should always think we're his servant. And how can we serve more and more and more? And I'm scared I lost my train of thought, but the main thing is that truthfulness is the last leg of religion. These other virtues are there in a number of devotees. I see them. But we have to always be conscientious that the illusory energy, Maya, is attacking truthfulness from all angles. All angles. So for us, individually, we have to really do some inner searching and really be truthful about ourselves, where we're at, and what we can do, and how we can cooperate with others. But to be very honest is very, very detrimental to be dishonest. It's getting late, and one of the main things Srila Prabhupada was emphasizing is the taking of prasadam. So, thank you so much. Time for prasad. Hare Krishna.
Hey, Krishna. Thank you very much.